Hi everybody. In another bizarre email exchange between myself and Dan Neidle, Dan Neidle again threatens to block the email traffic between me and him. He keeps asking for verification of 600 million of recoupments, and I've provided all the evidence to Dan Neidle via ecclesial law and directly. And his response every single time is that if he doesn't get individual records for each of the 600 million, which is what I believe he wants, which of course would be a breach of the privacy of the contracts between the grantors of the International Grantor Trust, who appointed an ERO to file their tax returns for their trust, and in order to give Dan Neidle all of that evidence, which of course will be available in any future lawsuits, of course, that I'm looking at and will be suing Dan Neidle in a US court, all of that evidence will be provided in the court in private, which Dan Neidle should know that evidence of that kind would require the permission of every single grantor. There are 3,000 grantors, so I'm hardly likely to go out to every one of the grantors that received a wages and tax transcript and get their permission to give their personal file to Dan Neidle. It's just ludicrous to believe that to even keep asking for it. So this is Dan Neidle's email. The transcript does not mention 600 million, well, we'll look at that in a moment. And the podcast, and that is that's one of my interviews I've done just recently, doesn't verify the 600 million. When I've repeatedly told Dan Neidle that the evidence that he is seeking is private, and he should look at the technical reports, and he should look at my wages and tax transcript, and he should be relying upon that. So let's now have a quick look at what he's already received. This is the wages and tax transcript for me, for my trust, the Ian Clifford. This is a 98 series grantor trust, and without going through what all of these things mean, this is from the IRS, came in 2025. That is the amount of the recoupment, 4.477 million of confirmed wages and tax transcript from the IRS. As you can see, this is an IRS fax here on the 24th of July 2025. So just a very brief overview of what Dan Neidle has received. He's received this document, which goes through the 16 years of my whistleblowing and all of the things that have happened, all of the railroaded lawsuits, all of the vendetta, all of the destruction, Order 34, 2023, the entrapment by design, the whole thing is in here. Very powerful figures, lots of big names in here. Andrew Bailey, the head of the Bank of England, is in here. Members of Parliament are in here. There's a whole range of very big names in this document that have played a part in suppressing me and undermining me as a whistleblower of the HBOS, primarily the HBOS 40 billion hole in their balance sheet. The bank was bankrupt. The regulators, the Treasury, the Bank of England let it carry on trading between 2005 and 2009 when it was taken over by Lloyds Bank, and it should have gone bust, and that was all in my whistleblowing. So that's that document, and Neidle has that. Remember, Dan Neidle is acting as an agent for the FCA. Then we have this, recoupment of signature credit, will it bankrupt the United States Treasury? In this document is deep technical research on how the Clifford Protocol works, all of the technical references, everything from A through Z. And Dan Neidle has never once challenged me on any of this technical research that I sent in some weeks ago. Then you've got this document, how long does it take, and what is the exact process, how long does it take, it's all in this document. Again, lots of deep forensic technical research, all in here. And then you've got this document which Neidle had last week, which is that he says that the 4.4 million, that's the wages and tax transfer we just looked at, isn't confirmed as an IRS confirmed recoupment. Well, it is. Neidle says it's a fantasy. I say it's not. In this document, I go through all of the reason why it's not a fantasy. It is very real, as is the other wages and tax transcripts that make up the $600 million that Neidle keeps saying that he wants proof of. So let's now have a look at the response that I sent to Neidle. Just get that out of the way. And this is the response. So basically, Zahawi is the reason why, who's the former Chancellor of the United Kingdom. Dan Neidle makes a big play of the fact that he took Zahawi down for having a lack of integrity, by not disclosing his tax returns in the correct way, according to HMRC. So this is the integrity gap, right? So Neidle has made a reputation off the back of the fact that he exposed Zahawi for not having integrity. I say that Neidle doesn't have integrity. I say that he is lacking integrity in this matter. This is the evidence. We have a authorised ERO, that is a licensed IRS tax preparer, that is submitted a very detailed report, a formal criminal referral to the TIGA department of the IRS. That is to do with the fact that Amy Sanger undermined all of the recoupments, 1099 OID filings, because she believed, based on Dan Neidle's evidence and his blogs, not his evidence, so his blogs that he was putting out online, that she might have been involved in a fraud, because Dan Neidle kept saying that I'm a tax fraudster and I practice pseudo law. So as a result of Dan Neidle's blogs, the head of our trustee department, Amy Sanger, filed identity fraud reports to the IRS, which stopped all of the $600 million dollars worth of recoupments from paying out to our members, who are the grantors of the 98 series grantor trust that had filed the tax returns through WK as an authorised ERO. She and her trustees all then left the organisation, believing that I was involved in a tax fraud to do with 1099 OID because of Dan Neidle's blogs that he'd been putting out since 2024. So I say that why would an authorised ERO, a professional tax preparer with a licence with the IRS, file a fraud report to the IRS that contains all of the evidence of the 600 million recoupments if it was a fraud? It's ridiculous. The ERO cannot provide all of this evidence to Dan Neidle because of this, because of 26 USC 7206. It would be a felony for all of that individual evidence to be given over to Dan Neidle, who is an internet blogger. 4.4 million, but I've showed him the wages and tax transcript to be real, and I've also showed all of these technical documents here that are referencing the IRS's 810 algorithm, the IRS publication 1212, my own recoupments, the fact that other people in our organisation have had recoupments and successfully banked them and spent them. And he's basically, every time I push back with the email that I've just showed you, he blocks the account. So how can that be integrity, Dan Neidle?